Hey guys, it's John from Album Review TV. It's time for a review of St. Vincent, aka Annie Clark's fourth studio album. It's titled St. Vincent, so it's a self-titled record and it just came out this past week. St. Vincent is an artist that I wouldn't consider myself a fan in the past, but I have to say that with this new record she has definitely won me over. This is easily her most just upbeat, enthusiastic, and accessible record that she has done to date. It's got so many songs that just kind of bounce all over the place, synthesizer-wise. There's guitars, there's more artsy tracks. She's been known for art rock in the past, and like I said, I never would have considered myself a fan just because of the fact that the music wasn't exactly something that I was necessarily into. But as my tastes have evolved, this record just seems to come at a perfect time for me, and it's something that I'm really digging. So let's go ahead and jump into this, and I want to talk to you guys about a lot of the tracks here on this record. I want to start off by talking about the opener, which is titled Rattlesnake. That track quickly caught my attention with its eccentric vocals, bouncing synths that really just move all over the place and don't exactly move in your typical song fashion. It's kind of out of rhythm at times, but it's also really easy to pique my curiosity with this track. This track did pique my curiosity, I should say, just because of the fact that it's not your typical song. It's different. It makes you think. It's all I can really ask for in a modern song, especially in this indie pop and electronic scene. This is something that is really standing out to me. Then there's a track called Digital Witness, which I think is fantastic, particularly because of the message that this song sends. It talks about how this day and age we often lose touch with reality just because of the fact that there's so many electronic devices to like lose yourself in, or even the internet. And you know, I do this sometimes too. I'm guilty. With Annie being right around age 30, I think it's just something she's reflecting on here on this track. And it's just, it's not the only time on this album that she talks about it, but this one is just the most blatantly obvious devoted to that subject matter on the album. It's quite a trip musically as well, and it's one that's hard to resist tapping your foot along to. Birth in Reverse is a track that's much more grounded, I would say, musically and instrumentation-wise, and the song pattern that it follows. And I think it makes for one of the most satisfying listens on this self-titled record. Its catchy chorus is powered by guitars and synthesizers, and it makes this song something that I feel like will be a fan favorite in the long haul. The reason why this song succeeds is that it doesn't try to do too much or throw too much at the listener. Sure, there's a lot going on musically, but it's not so densely layered to the point that it's distracting like so many overproduced pop songs are these days. I Prefer Your Love is a song that Clark wrote for her mother during a time when she was sick, very sick, about a year ago. She's better now, but I don't necessarily agree with a lot of the lyrical content on this track, but I do see it as a nice soft track that kind of deals with coming to terms with one's own mortality. Prince Johnny is a much more ambient and airy track that feels quite majestic to me, honestly. Annie Clark's voice channels the 70s and 80s in a very interesting way, not something that you see these days that just kind of feels like a rip-off because everyone's trying to throw back to the 80s. It's just her vocal style, not necessarily the music itself, that really feels like that to me. It stands out to me as probably her best vocal performance on this entire self-titled record. Lyrically, the song deals with someone who sees their friend who is very self-destructive in nature, but they can't really do or say anything about it because the person looking in is very self-destructive in nature as well. And it's just really interesting to think about it because deep down we are all very self-destructive, I think. I'm very guilty of it sometimes, and I can sabotage things that are going well for myself. I know others who do it all the time. Regret is another track that I've grown quite fond of, with shimmering guitars and synths. It's right near the end of the album. Brighter vocal melodies from Miss Vincent, which really helped set this track apart from its peers in the sense that it's much more, it's bigger, I think, in nature than a lot of these songs sonically. It's a pretty big song, and I think her vocals definitely stand apart from some of the other tracks on this record. I really like how things get mixed up from song to song, and this is one that really stood out to me. My overall favorite track on the record might just be Psychopath, though. I'm not exactly sure why, though. Well, I guess I am, but it's just not a track that I really thought I would have been into, especially 2 years ago. It's just like I was talking about earlier, my musical tastes have evolved so much in the past 2 years especially. 2 years ago I would not have seen myself enjoying this track, but here I am saying that this is my favorite song on St. Vincent's record. 2 years ago I didn't know who St. Vincent was, so I can't help but love this simple yet almost elegant track. It's got enough charm to really knock anyone's socks off. The last track I want to talk about is one that I'm not quite a fan of necessarily. Huey Newton is the name of this track. Not particularly fond of it, but it's because I don't really understand it. The line, "feckless porn sharks, toothless but got a big bark," just seems completely ridiculous and unnecessary to me. The production was handled very nicely here on this track. That's one thing I will commend, but I'm not really a fan of the vocals or the lyrical content. I will say the second half of the song is much, much stronger than the first half. I'm really getting into the second half of the song a whole lot more, so I wouldn't say just skip over this track, but it's one that I just wouldn't necessarily recommend or call a favorite of mine. At times this record does grate on me vocally. Sometimes her vocals on some of the tracks just don't come off as, you know, as good on the ears as others. That's the only way I can really describe it. Some songs she's on it, she's on her game, and other songs it's just that I'm not quite feeling it. Overall though, like I said, I've never considered myself a St. Vincent fan, but this self-titled is easily her best work yet, and it's kind of won me over here. A 4 out of 5 for me for St. Vincent's self-titled record. What did you guys think? Have you heard it? If not, I'll put a link to check out at least one of the tracks in the description down below, along with all my other stuff, my comedy channel, vlogs, Twitter, Facebook, everything's down there. Make sure you give the review a like, share it with a friend, and subscribe to the channel if you did enjoy it. It helps us grow. We're almost to 6,000 subscribers, so thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you very soon right here on Album Review TV, Beyond the Reviews.